Right, what is there to know about Trolls World Tour?
Don't watch it.
Don't say that. The inevitable sequel to 2016's kiddie-pleasing acid trip of an animation. Doubling down on the latter's day-glow amphetamine-fueled surrealist bunkum, World Tour posits a world compartmentalised by musical genre and sees Poppy and Branch on a quest to save trolls of all musical dispositions from the world-conquering ambition of the Hard Rock Clan, led by the selfish Queen Barb and her father Thrash. Oh, man, how I wish I'd called one of my kids Thrash. I absolutely hate hard rock music, but there's something about the name Thrash. Seeking to unite classical, country, funk, pop, techno and rock in an effort to stave off homogenisation, our heroes must protect the sacred musical strings of each kingdom and ultimately deliver our children a message that it's cool to experiment and do your own thing, even if we've already established that music comes in only 6 distinct flavours. At least I think that's the plot. Despite having seen this 3 times now, I can't honestly testify, given that every time I've drifted off on the sofa next to my own kids, I've opened my eyes to be punched violently in the corneas by a massive glittery fist soaked in LSD, while my ears are assaulted by characters speaking entirely in auto-tune and singing funked up medleys in the spaces in between.
Are you reading my mind? Those are almost exactly the words I had to describe this film.
Well, here's the thing, Drew. I think I like it. Critically, I believe a great deal of scorn has been directed towards this in the original movie, which I attribute to critics, and now I can insert people like Drew, having essentially no souls and being so world-weary that they've scrubbed all memory of childhood from their addled minds. Having said that, let's not pretend that I'd have any interest in either movie were it not for my 2 young children. But while I cannot turn back the clock, I can at least make the most of my situation and open my mind to the possibility of entertainment beyond the realm of the classical senses, which Trolls World Tour surely is. Much like the first movie, World Tour is equal parts fun, funny, funky, and relentlessly upbeat. A function of human existence I feel we are currently sorely undervaluing. And I strongly suspect that the people responsible for its conception would be genuinely heedless of critical reception, even without the phenomenal returns they've made in light of its immediate digital distribution. I get the sense that everyone involved in the Trolls gravy train is genuinely invested in its target audience having a good time and hopefully picking up on some common sense tips for humanity and life goals along the way. I personally find it hard to argue, and while I cannot currently go out and purchase mind-altering pharmaceuticals, I will happily, inevitably sit down on the couch at some point again soon to be rudely awakened by that pink glittery fist. Because, listen, here's the thing. There's only so much value in spending time discussing this movie critically, because there are 2 reasons why you would watch Trolls World Tour. Either A, and I would suggest the majority of people fall into this bracket, you've got young kids in the house, or B, for some reason you have some investment in approaching it critically, i.e. you have a podcast, which everybody does anyway. And in either of those situations, you've got no choice. You were watching it anyway. So what's the point? Don't fight it. I didn't. Do you know what? I'm accepting of it. Trolls is a thing that's out there. It's fun. It's relentlessly upbeat. And at this point in human history, I cannot fight that. Because if I did, I would have thrown myself under a bus 5 weeks ago.
Could you have done that before you suggested we watch this film for this podcast?
I didn't suggest you watch it, man. Don't blame me.
Well, I do blame you, and I'll tell you how I get to that.
Go on.
You know that I'm a completionist, yes? Had I not
Your problem, not mine.
Had I not watched the first film, I probably wouldn't have watched this one. I did watch the first film because I was spending time with a friend of mine and his delightful little daughter, who I'm very fond of, wanted me to watch Trolls with her. So I did. So I've seen the first one. I honestly barely remember it. But because of that experience, I must watch this now. So what I'm saying is it's all Craig's fault because it was his daughter in his house. And I hate you. Don't blame your daughter, because she's lovely and innocent.
I get to listen to her singing Barracuda now, and I cannot tell you how happy that makes me, because she's actually not got a bad little voice on her. But when I get woken up in the morning by like a child sort of shaking me violently in bed, and when I open my eyes and the first thing I hear is someone going, "Ooh, Daddy Cuda," there's not a lot can be wrong with that.
I can see that have its charms, unlike this film, which it's like a unicorn vomiting rainbows into your eyes while Smurfs use pickaxes in your ear, which are then auto-tuned for 4 days.
You say that as though it's a bad thing, though. And let's be clear, this is the best of things.
Yeah, you're not selling me on this, Drew. Yeah.
Well, this film just seemed to last forever, and I did not like a single second of it. It was just going straight to the centre of my head and causing me pain.
At which point did your soul wither and die, man?
My soul is fine. My soul is not all of the colours in the world on screen at one time with
Right.
hideous renditions of terrible pop songs and a completely wasted Rachel Bloom. And
Right.
no, this is a bad film.
You're talking about the way that this film envelops the entire colour spectrum. I'm willing to bet that the three of us, right? I've no idea, but I'm willing to bet the three of us have all got at least halfway decent 4K displays at this point. Are you making an argument against this as a reference disc?
I'm making an argument against this as an anything, particularly as a thing that exists.
I'm like that. I'm watching it thinking, well, there's the 10-bit colour gambit. What? There's the 10-bit colour gamut. Note to self, edit out the bit where I said Culber Gambit. Man alive. I'm only halfway through my second rum and coke. Jesus.
I didn't mind this film, but I'm self-aware enough to know that that my opinion of it is of no relevance to anyone. So,
Yes.
Celebi,
This film is not for us. I'm along for the ride.
Oh no, I was painfully aware that I wasn't the target audience, but I was watching this and reminding myself, like, oh, kids have terrible taste in everything, don't they? This is awful.
but I can see why kids are amused by this. It's very amusing. It has lots of shiny things and
Yeah.
interesting songs, and I didn't hate it.
And surreal shit, am I right?
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some very strange things going on there. The visuals are imaginative. That you could latch onto as a kid. I fairly certain if I'd watched this as a kid, I would probably have liked it. The strange thing is that the kind of music that they pick for these genres, when I'm fairly certain most kids wouldn't have heard of that. I mean, how many kids know Barracuda? Before
Exactly.
this, you know what I mean? It has a bit of a strange filter of it as being, well, obviously a film created by like 30 to 40-year-olds thinking about what they might want to do as a kid, rather than sort of being what kids today might be into. But
Yeah.
that aside,
But for some reason, kids are loving it anyway.
It turns out good music is just good music. So, Celebi. I didn't hate it, and for a film that is distinctly, obviously, quite clearly not for me, that's about as much as I can care about for it. So yes,
Yeah.
it would seem to pass the test. If this was one film that I had to be subjected to multiple times because my kids were looking into it, I suspect it would not be the worst thing that could have happened to me. Didn't mind it.
If nothing else, I don't think thematically there's a great argument to be made for the Trolls movies, but I do wonder at the sort of critical rounding that they take from people who just... I don't know. There is, like you say, Scott, great music is great music, and I don't think there's any harm in exposing especially young kids to the notion that, do you know what? The thing you like might not be to everyone else's taste, but you should be open to other ideas.
Yeah.
And you should be, culturally, you should be open to stuff that you might not necessarily like on the surface, because it's very heavy-handed. But do you know what? If you're between the ages of sort of 4 and 8 or whatever this, the target audience for this film is, I can understand why it works. It is. And
Not everything's for you, critics.
not everything's for you, and you should tolerate other people's opinions and tastes. What a terrible message to be instilling in young children.
I don't deny there's
and
a good message in this, but it's so heavy-handed and everything's auto-tuned and I hate it.
Well, let's be honest, not everything's auto-tuned. There's one character who's auto-tuned, right? Well, 2 actually now, because Guy Diamond
the
has a
singing is
child.
Craig.
Yeah, Guy Diamond has got a child whose name I can't remember, but I remember is it
Tiny Diamond.
Tiny Diamond? Yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, it's that thing of like adults complaining that like, oh, kids' movies are just like, everybody wants to praise the kids' movie that's got jokes that goes over the kids' heads that are intended for the parents. This has got that, and it's also got just surreal nonsense in it that just the most bizarre stuff. You know the bit I laughed at the loudest? You know the sort of crazy bat creature with the massive eyes?
Debbie.
Is it Debbie? Yeah, right. Okay, I can't even remember the name. Do you know the point at which Branch basically lays Debbie down, strokes her wings out, and then massages her eyeballs? I haven't laughed to calm her down. I haven't laughed at anything so hard in months, and I'll take it. I don't think the Trolls movies. You'd think that they were. You think that they're the same league as the Emoji Movie by the way that people talk about them, and they are not. They are operating at a level well above that, and people should stop being critical of them, Drew. They're fine for what they are. They're not high art, but I don't think they pretend to be. They are operating on the currency of joy and music, and I'm not going to beat them up about that. And I hope that one day you can go back to the pawn shop and buy your soul back, Drew. Someone talk about something
Shall we
else.
move on? Yes.
Can you stop bullying me, please?
Conform, damn it, even though that's exactly against the message of this film. Yes.
I'm calling this 1 for 4 now. We're 1 for 4 now. And I get the feeling that Scott's he's not necessarily with me, but he's not against me.
No.
Come on. Yeah. Let's go 1 for 5. Whose job is it to talk about Extraction?
I think we're maybe 0.5 for Onward and 0.5 for Trolls. So between them, if you cut them in half and shut them together, then maybe that'll work. I don't know.
Cool.
Right, so
3 quarters.